You think you know who you are. You carry your name, your memories, your opinions, and your habits as proof of identity. You tell stories about your past, make plans for your future, and believe that somewhere in the middle of all that movement lives something solid called you. But have you ever stopped to ask how much of that certainty is real, or how much of it is a story built to protect you from what you don't yet understand? Carl Jung believed that most people mistake familiarity for self-knowledge. We confuse the comfort of our routines with understanding, as if repeating the same thoughts and emotions means we truly see them. But what if that familiarity is only a reflection? What if the image you call myself is made up of everything you've been told, everything you've feared, and everything you've learned to hide? From childhood, we learn what earns approval and what causes disapproval. We are rewarded for certain behaviors, certain tones of voice, certain ways of being. Slowly, without noticing, we start shaping ourselves to fit those patterns. Over time, this shape hardens. It becomes our mask, our persona. Jung wrote, "The persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself as well as others think one is." We grow so used to that mask that we forget it's there. We call it personality. We call it confidence. We call it identity. But beneath that surface lives something far less polished, a quieter, more uncertain truth. You may sense it in the moments when the mask slips, when you act out of instinct and surprise yourself. You may sense it when you feel an emptiness that success cannot fill. It appears when the applause fades and you realize you no longer know why you're doing what you do. That uneasy silence is not a mistake. It's a signal. It's the deeper self reminding you that you've mistaken the reflection for the source. Jung often spoke of the danger of self-deception, how easily we can live entire lives without ever meeting who we truly are. He said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. It's easier to keep moving, to keep talking, to keep wearing the familiar mask. Because to stop, to look inward, is to risk discovering that much of what we've built rests on borrowed foundations. The illusion of knowing yourself is comforting because it gives you certainty, and certainty feels safe. But awareness grows only in uncertainty. Real self-knowledge begins the moment you admit you don't fully understand yourself. It begins when you pause long enough to ask, "What am I pretending not to see?" That question alone can begin to crack the surface. You are not the mask you wear for the world. You are the one who watches from behind it, the silent observer who notices every thought, every feeling, every contradiction. The illusion fades the moment you stop trying to appear certain and start allowing yourself to be honest. That honesty, uncomfortable as it may be, is the doorway to real awareness. And perhaps that's why only a few ever walk through it, because to see yourself clearly means losing the comfort of illusion. It means trading the security of the mask for the uncertainty of truth. But in that uncertainty, life becomes real again. The illusion fades, and what remains is something raw, something alive, the beginning of actually knowing who you are. We all wear a face that the world can see. It is the one that smiles when others look, the one that speaks when silence feels unsafe, the one that adjusts itself to fit the moment. Over time, we come to believe that this outer face, this collection of reactions, opinions, and expressions, is who we are. It becomes the story we tell about ourselves. But beneath it, something else quietly watches. Something older, more genuine, and far less polished. Carl Jung called this outer layer the persona. He described it as the mask that bridges the individual and society, the part of us that learns how to belong. The persona helps us function. It knows how to act in a meeting, how to speak to a stranger, how to navigate expectations. Without it, the world would feel overwhelming. Yet the very mask that helps us survive can also become a barrier between us and our own truth. Jung warned that the persona is a complicated system of relations between individual consciousness and society. Fittingly enough, a kind of mask, designed on the one hand to make a definite impression upon others, and on the other to conceal the true nature of the individual. From early life, we begin to craft this mask without realizing it. When a child is praised for being quiet, that child learns that silence equals safety. When another is rewarded for strength, they learn that vulnerability must be hidden. Piece by piece, approval shapes identity. We grow into adults who no longer need anyone to tell us what to hide. We do it automatically. We carry ourselves as we believe we should be, not as we are. The mask becomes second nature. It shows up when you say, "I'm fine," but something inside you isn't. It appears when you laugh at what doesn't amuse you or stay silent when something within you wants to speak. It appears in the roles you play, the responsible one, the strong one, the calm one, the one who never complains. These roles are not lies, they are fragments of truth wrapped in habit. But when they become rigid, they start to suffocate the rest of you. There are moments when the mask slips, perhaps when you're alone and something unexpected stirs. A wave of sadness, a flash of anger, a longing you can't explain. In those brief moments, you feel both lost and alive, as if a part of you that has been sleeping suddenly opens its eyes. Then, almost instantly, the persona returns to cover it. You put on the smile again, straighten your voice, and resume the performance. You tell yourself it was nothing, but it was something. It was you. The danger of the mask is not that it hides you from others, it's that it hides you from yourself. When you live too long behind it, you begin to forget that there is anything underneath. You start to mistake adaptation for authenticity. Jung suggested that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Yet how can you become that if you never step beyond the character you've created? Self-awareness begins when you start noticing how tightly you hold that mask. When you catch yourself pretending, softening your voice, choosing your words to be accepted, or swallowing your truth to stay comfortable. That is your first glimpse of awareness. It's not a call to tear the mask away, but to see it for what it is. The persona is not the enemy. It's a tool. The danger lies in believing that the tool is your face. Take a quiet moment to ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching? What remains when there's no one to impress, no one to protect, no one to please? The answer to that question often feels uncertain or uncomfortable. But that discomfort is a sign that you are beginning to see past the surface. To remove the mask completely would be impossible, and perhaps unwise. The goal is not to destroy it, but to make it transparent, to let the real face behind it breathe. When you no longer confuse the role with the reality, you begin to reclaim the parts of you that were lost in the act of becoming acceptable. You start to see that who you are is not something you create. It is something you remember. There comes a point in every life when the outer layers begin to feel thin. The mask you've worn starts to slip, and beneath it, something unfamiliar begins to stir. It's not a stranger from outside you, but a presence that has been waiting inside all along, quiet, patient, watching. Jung called it the shadow. It is the side of you that never stopped existing, even when you stopped acknowledging it. The shadow is not evil. It is not darkness for the sake of darkness. It is simply everything you have turned away from. Every emotion you've labeled as wrong, every impulse you've buried, every truth you've refused to see. It is made of the pieces of you that didn't fit the story you were told to live. Jung wrote, "The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality, for no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort." What he meant was that to face the shadow, you must face yourself, not the version you present to others, but the one that waits in the quiet corners of your mind. The hidden stranger within carries all the things you thought you had outgrown or defeated. The jealousy you hide behind politeness, the resentment that sleeps under your smile, the insecurity you disguise as control. These parts don't disappear because you reject them. They simply retreat. And while they remain unseen, they continue to shape your choices, your relationships, and your beliefs. Jung warned that everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. The more you deny what lives within you, the stronger it becomes. The shadow does not want to hurt you. It wants to be seen. It speaks through irritation, through guilt, through moments of shame and regret. It surfaces in your judgments of others, in the things that trigger you, in the emotions that feel disproportionate to the moment. Each time it's not trying to expose you, it's trying to reach you. When you meet this hidden stranger, it does not greet you with words. It speaks in sensations, a tightening in your chest, a flash of anger, a wave of sadness, a memory that surfaces without warning. You might feel uncomfortable, even afraid. That is natural. You are meeting parts of yourself you have avoided for a lifetime. But as Jung taught, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The goal is not to destroy the shadow, but to understand it. Jung believed that this confrontation with the shadow is essential for growth. He said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." When you understand your own hidden motives, your empathy deepens. You stop seeing others as threats and start seeing reflections. The world becomes less divided because you no longer project your unacknowledged pain onto it. To face the hidden stranger is to reclaim your humanity. It is to say yes to the totality of who you are, the calm and the chaos, the kindness and the fear. When you allow all of it to exist within you, something remarkable happens. The war between your parts begins to quiet. The shadow no longer needs to shout to be heard. And what once felt like an enemy becomes an ally, guiding you toward a deeper, more grounded kind of peace. Most people will never make this meeting. They will live entire lives protecting their masks, mistaking control for clarity. But those who dare to meet the stranger discover something that can never be taught, the experience of being whole. To know yourself fully, you must welcome what you once rejected. To see the truth, you must step into the darkness with open eyes. And when you do, you realize the hidden stranger was never a stranger at all. It was you, waiting to be seen. There is a moment in every inner journey when the questions you've been avoiding grow louder than the distractions that once kept them quiet. The routines, the roles, the stories, they no longer feel enough. You begin to sense that something within you is knocking, asking to be acknowledged. That is the moment you begin to meet your shadow. It is not an encounter with something foreign, but with the forgotten side of yourself, the side that remembers what your surface life has forgotten. Meeting the shadow is not a single event. It is a gradual unfolding, a series of small recognitions that begin with honesty. It starts when you notice that your anger isn't always caused by others, but often by your own unmet needs. It deepens when you see that your judgment of someone else is a reflection of what you secretly fear in yourself. It becomes real when you stop trying to explain your emotions away and begin to listen to them instead. Jung wrote, "To confront a person with his shadow is to show him his own light." He understood that the parts of ourselves we deny are not enemies to be defeated, but teachers waiting to be heard. The first instinct is often to resist. You want to defend your image, to protect your sense of being good or strong. But the shadow does not care about your reputation. It cares about your truth. It will keep appearing in your thoughts, your emotions, and your interactions until you listen. Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And that is exactly what the shadow demands. Acceptance. Acceptance does not mean approval. It does not mean agreeing with everything you find. It means allowing what is true to exist without denial. It means saying, "This is also me," even when it's uncomfortable. When you stop fighting your shadow, something softens. The energy you once spent hiding begins to return to you. What once felt like shame transforms into insight. What once felt like guilt becomes understanding. The shadow loses its power to control you the moment you stop pretending it isn't there. So when the hidden feelings rise, when the mirror shows something uncomfortable, when your own reactions surprise you, do not turn away. That is your shadow reaching for your attention. It is the forgotten voice saying, "Look at me, know me, I am part of you." And when you finally do, you realize that meeting the shadow is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of finally coming home to yourself. There comes a time when you can no longer pretend. When all the masks, all the practiced answers, all the ways you've shaped yourself to be acceptable, begin to feel heavy. You start to sense that you are living behind a layer of glass, visible, but not truly seen. That is when the mirror appears, not the kind that reflects your face, but the one that reflects your inner world, your motives, your contradictions, your quiet truths. This is the honest mirror, and it does not flatter. It reveals. The honest mirror is born the moment you stop explaining yourself and start observing yourself. It is the pause after you speak when you hear the tone beneath your words. It is the awareness that rises when you feel anger and ask, "What am I protecting?" It is the honesty that dawns when you recognize that your fear of being judged comes from the way you secretly judge yourself. This mirror doesn't offer comfort, it offers clarity, and clarity is rarely easy. Carl Jung understood this mirror better than anyone. He said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." The world around you often serves as that mirror, reflecting back the qualities you've hidden or denied. The traits you despise in others are often the ones you've exiled from yourself. The moments that fill you with admiration show you the light you have yet to claim. Each reflection, pleasant or painful, carries a message about who you are beneath the surface. At first, the mirror may show you what you do not want to see: jealousy, insecurity, resentment, regret. You may feel tempted to look away, to defend, to explain. But if you can resist the urge to turn away, something shifts. The harshness begins to fade, and understanding takes its place. You start to realize that each imperfection tells a story, not of failure, but of survival. The things you dislike in yourself often began as ways to protect you. They became distorted over time, but their roots were once attempts at care. When you see this, compassion replaces judgment. The honest mirror does not show you a fixed image. It shows you movement. It reflects your growth, your contradictions, your evolution. You may look into it one day and see confusion, and another day see strength. Both are true. Both are part of you. The mirror doesn't demand that you fix yourself, only that you see yourself clearly. And in that clarity, something begins to heal. There will still be moments when the reflection hurts, when you wish you could unsee what you've learned. But even in those moments, there is grace. Because each time you look and choose to stay, you are choosing truth over illusion. You are choosing to grow. You are choosing to live awake. And perhaps this is what Jung meant when he said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. The honest mirror is the heart of awakening. The silent reflection that reminds you that truth, no matter how heavy, is the only thing light enough to set you free. Most people spend their lives circling the surface of themselves. They stay where it feels familiar, where their reflections are predictable, where their masks still fit. They learn to function, to appear confident, to blend in. They chase success, approval, and belonging, all the while sensing in the quietest corners of their hearts that something essential remains unseen. Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." He understood that truth is rarely avoided because it is hidden. It is avoided because it is painful. But there are a rare few who turn inward anyway. They are not necessarily stronger or wiser than others. They are simply willing to face the silence that most fear, to look into the mirror that does not flatter, to listen to the voice that whispers beneath the noise. These are the ones who refuse to live half awake. They do not run from discomfort because they understand that discomfort is the beginning of honesty. The rare few choose awareness over appearance. While others cling to their masks, they begin to remove theirs piece by piece. They sit with their contradictions, not to solve them, but to understand them. They learn that real strength is not found in perfection, but in the courage to see one's own imperfection clearly. They stop asking, "How do I appear?" and begin asking, "Who am I when no one is watching?" Jung believed that the journey toward self-awareness was not for the faint-hearted. "There is no coming to consciousness without pain," he said. "People will do anything rather than look at their own souls. Yet for the rare few, that pain becomes sacred work, not punishment, but transformation. They come to see that every emotion, every fear, every shadow has a message, and that ignoring it only deepens the wound. Facing it, however, begins to heal it. What makes the rare few remarkable is not that they know everything about themselves, but that they are unafraid to keep learning. They have accepted that self-awareness is not about control, but compassion, a constant unfolding, a willingness to face the truth even when it shifts shape. And maybe that is why they stand out, even without trying. There is something unmistakable about a person who is at peace with their own contradictions. Their presence feels real. Their words carry weight because they come from a place that has been tested and refined. They are not perfect, but they are whole. So ask yourself, which path are you walking? The path of comfort, where the mask stays fixed and the mirror remains covered? Or the path of truth, where you are willing to meet yourself fully, without disguise? Only one of these paths leads to freedom, and maybe that is why only a rare few ever take it.